Hi everyone, welcome to my class. I'm Jane. Today I want to explain one of the most beautiful stories in the world, titled The Last Leaf by O. Henry. Before going to the gist of the story, let's have a short view about the author, story, and characters. About the author, William Sidney Potter, popularly known as O. Henry. He was a popular American short story writer. His stories are known for their surprise ending. So you can see a surprise ending in the story. About the story. The story, The Last Leaf by O. Henry, published in 1907 in his collection of stories titled The Trimmed Lamb and Other Stories. This is an interesting and touching story of an old artist who inspired a young artist to live. The story is set in Greenwich Village. It is located on the west side of Manhattan in New York City. The village in 20th century known for an artist heaven. Characters: Sue and Johnsy. Sue and Johnsy were two young artists and friends who lived in a small flat on the third floor of an old house. Behrman. Behrman was a 60-year-old artist who lived on the ground floor of the same house. Okay, the last, doctor. The doctor is a minor character in the story. Okay? Now, let's have an overview on the story, The Last Leaf by O. Henry. The two young artists, Sue and Johnsy. Sue and Johnsy were two young artists who lived in a small flat on the third floor of an old house. Mr. Behrman, who was an old artist, he lived on the ground floor of the same house. Johnsy caught pneumonia. Johnsy was seriously ill in November. She caught pneumonia. She had severe breathing problem and coughing. Her temperature was high. Sue was worried about her health. Every now and then, Sue kept checking her health. She always sat near her. She was very sad because she loved her very much. Sue called doctor. Then Sue called the doctor. The doctor arrived. After examining, the doctor said, Johnsy had no will to live, and advised Sue the only way to recover from the illness to make Johnsy happy. Sue tried to make Johnsy happy. When the doctor left the room, Sue tried her best to make Johnsy happy. Sue talked about clothes and fashion. She brought her drawing board to the room and started painting. She drew beautiful pictures. While she was painting, she whistled so as to make Johnsy happy. But there was no response from Johnsy. Johnsy's strange fancy. After some time, Johnsy started speaking in low voice. Then Sue rushed to her. Johnsy was counting backward. She was counting like 12. After that, 11, then 10 and 9. Like that she was counting. Johnsy was always looking out of the window. Then Sue looked through the window. Sue noticed there was an ivy creeper, which was climbing halfway up the brick wall. The wall was opposite to the room. Then Johnsy said, "When the last leaf falls, I will die." She told Sue there were hundreds of leaves were there on the ivy creeper, and only 6 left on the ivy creeper. Then Sue said, "During autumn season, it was quite natural. The leaves fall from the trees, from the branches of trees." But Johnsy had no other ways. She was still gazing out of the window. Sue said it was nonsense to tell like that. The leaves had nothing to do with her health. It didn't make any sense. Sue tried to give hopes to Johnsy to live. But Johnsy did not want to live. She wanted to die. She was waiting for the last leaf fall. Sue comforted Johnsy that she would recover soon. Sue wants to paint an old miner. Sue wanted to paint an old miner that would bring her money. Mr. Behrman was her model. He was living on the ground floor. Sue advises Johnsy not to look out of the window for some time. She asked Johnsy to promise her not to look out of the window until she finished painting. Johnsy agreed so. After some time, Johnsy fell asleep. So meets Behrman. When Johnsy fell asleep, Sue went to meet Behrman. Who was Behrman? He was 60 years old man, an old artist. He was living on the ground floor of the same house. He had no painting for a long time. He had a dream to paint a masterpiece. People thought he had no talent. Sue discussed the strange fancy of Johnsy with Behrman. Then Behrman agreed Sue to come there. Behrman visits Johnsy. Both Sue and Behrman entered the room quietly. There Johnsy was sleeping. Slowly, Sue drew the curtain and pointed the ivy creeper to Behrman. Both of them saw there was only one leaf left on the ivy creeper because there was heavy rain and cold wind. So the last leaf would fall at any time. Sue was confused what to do next. Behrman did not say any words. Johnsy woke up next morning. When Johnsy woke up next morning, she called Sue and asked her to draw the curtain. She wanted to see the last leaf fell, as she wanted to die. But Sue was afraid. She didn't want to see the last leaf fell. She wanted Johnsy alive. But when she was insisted by Johnsy, reluctantly, she drew the curtain and looked out of the window. She exclaimed to see the last leaf on the ivy creeper. It didn't fall. It survived in that stormy night. Then she pointed the last leaf to Johnsy. But Johnsy was in the same mood. She told Sue the last leaf would fall in that evening. Another stop would take the last leave by evening. Jonesy was so depressed and gloomy. She was so weak. She didn't eat and drink anything. She was waiting to see the last leaf fell. Jonesy accuses herself. In the evening, Jonesy looked out of the window. Then she saw the last leaf was there still. It didn't fall. Then she called Sue. She sat on the bed and told Sue. She had been a bad girl. It was sin to want to die. The desire to die was a wrong thing. The last leaf gave her hope. The last leaf made her realize. Jonesy told Sue she wouldn't have thought to die as she had a friend like Sue. Doctor visit Jonesy. The doctor visited Jonesy and found that she had improvement in health and said Jonesy had the will to live, so she would recover soon. He also said Mr. Behrman was ill for 2 days. He had been suffering from pneumonia and he had to meet him soon. Behrman dies of pneumonia. In the next morning, Sue called Jonesy. She wanted to tell an important matter to Jonesy about Behrman. Sue told Jonesy Behrman had died of pneumonia in the morning. The janitor of the house found him on his bed in the stormy night. His clothes and shoes were wet. There were a lantern and ladder near him. Some green and yellow colored paints with brush found near him. He had been out in that stormy night. Sue wanted to tell a secret to Jonesy and asked her whether she knew why the last leaf had not fallen from the ivy creeper in that stormy night. Why it still looked green and healthy. Jonesy was curiously listening to Sue. Then Sue surprised Jonesy by telling the last leaf had already fallen in that stormy night. But it was Behrman who painted the last leaf on the brick wall. And it was his best work ever he had done. As he was exposed to the rain and cold wind, he got pneumonia and he died. And the last leaf painted by Behrman was his masterpiece. Okay, let's discuss the theme of the story. 3 themes are interconnected in the story. The first one, the main theme, the virtue of human sacrifice and selflessness, which are applied to the character Behrman, who sacrificed his life for a young artist, namely Jonesy. When Sue told him about Jonesy and her strange fancy, he visited Jonesy. There he found the last leaf on the ivy creeper. It would fall at any moment. Being understood the situation, he didn't say any words to Sue and went immediately to his room. Without waiting for another moment, he went outside with the lantern and ladder. There he was exposed to rain and cold wind and painted the last leaf on the brick wall, which was his masterpiece. After that, he caught pneumonia and died. Selflessness was another quality of Berman. He was not aware of his health. He wished John C. would recover from the illness. Thus, Mr. Berman is the hero of the story. Second one, the theme of pessimism and optimism. A transition from pessimism to optimism can be seen in the character John C. When John C. got pneumonia, she became sad. She was depressed and gloomy. She had no hope to live. But later found the last leaf on the ivy creeper. She realized her mistake and she became confident. This is also a lesson for us. When any crisis hit in your life, don't be depressed. Confidence can steer you away from negative thoughts. The last one, the theme of friendship. So when John C. were two young artists who were close friends, lived in a small flat. When John C. was seriously ill, she was depressed and gloomy. Then Sue became very sad. Sue called the doctor. The doctor found John C. had no will to live, so medicine wouldn't work. He advised Sue to make her happy. Then Sue tried her best to make John C. happy. She taught the interested things like clothes and fashions. She brought her drawing board to the room. Sue started painting in front of John C. While she was painting, she whistled. But John C. was in the same mood. When John C. realized her mistake, she became confident. She told Sue she wouldn't have thought to die as she had a friend like Sue. Then Sue hugged John C. The sincerity, loyalty, love, and sacrifice can be seen in their relationship. Okay then, I hope you enjoyed my class. If you like my video, don't forget to share. Thank you very much for watching my video. Bye.